So since in my last video I talked about my Carter finger and I guess you'd call it a palm plane, I thought I'd show them off. Do a quick video on this. Put the quarter up to give you perspective. The first plane is of course boxwood. The classic finger plane, flat soled. Takes a beautiful tiny little shaving. The next one had a radius sole, just a slight radius. Hard to even see probably in the video, but just a beautiful piece of wood. Bill, even on these tiny planes, puts his Carter London stamp. There's an interesting story. This one's actually smaller than the flat-soled one. There's an interesting story to this. Bill had many years ago, about a dozen for sale, and or maybe he had more, but I asked about getting a dozen, and he shipped. I bought 11 or 12. He shipped them to me on this side of the pond, and I sold 10, and I kept 2, and they were just lovely, and they actually work quite well, but they're extraordinary works of craftsmanship and art. This one says Top Hat on the back. I don't think I ever asked Bill what that meant, but it's cool. So anyway, I had bought those, and at the same time I bought this Lignum Vitae, massive by comparison, but still very small, palm plane with a flat sole and a massive blade. And this was done, again, as Carter London logo, but on the back we see there's a Diana. This is sort of reverential, this thing, because he's got Diana and her date of birth and death, and then it's stamped Lignum Vitae. So this is my Princess Diana Carter plane. Anyway, after I had bought these and kept my 2, which was my little commission for putting it all together and selling my friends in the tool collecting world their own Carters, I divorced and moved. And when you divorce and move, you invariably lose something. Well, I lost these. I looked for them for 10 years. About once a year, I'd get a burr in my butt, and I'd say, I'm going to tear the shop apart and find these little things because they should be somewhere. They're hiding under something. But really, I had given up. And then one day last spring, about a year ago, I was homesick, and I was in my shop piddling around, and I decided one more time, literally 10 years after I'd been divorced, that I would look through the shop for my Carter planes that I desperately missed. Now, mind you, I was too cheap to call Bill or email him and say, I'll pay you for a couple more. I wanted to find my original ones. So anyway, I started tearing through my shop and went into every drawer, and as I shoved my hand into one drawer all the way to the back of the drawer, I felt something familiar in the corner of the drawer. And I was jumping down with joy, even though I was sick that day. In my living room, I was home, my wife was working, and I was like a kid in a candy store, having found, 10 years later, my little Carter planes with shavings still in the throat. So anyway, that's my story about the Carters. Needless to say, they work very well, but they're just works of art. So I will take them directly with me and not ship them to the Philippines. They're not leaving my side. I love to use this. Now, the Carter finger plane is set up with a very tight mouth, so it takes a very small shaving. Same thing with the radiused sole. I wouldn't use this to carve a significant amount of wood. I would use this as a very much final thin shaving. And I've actually got the blade extended a fair amount. I could retract it and take less of a shaving. No, too much. Very fine.